Hello everyone and welcome back to This Is Real Life. I'm your host Sheri, and on today's DIY Wednesday video, we are going to discuss some tricks, tips, hacks if you will, for painting a room efficiently and beautifully. So today we are in my new guest bathroom that is a lovely shade of baby blue. I don't like it. It's not my jam. However, the tile in this bathroom is a very light baby blue as well. I'm not redoing the tile. Ain't nobody got the money or the time for that. And I just like that it's kind of old. The house was built in the 1950s, and I am not one to redo every single thing and make it into something that it's not. I like to pay homage to the year that the house was built. So the countertop tile, staying. The baby blue wall, Audi 5000. Now, if you're like most people, me included, painting, not fun. I am not like relishing the fact that I need to paint this bathroom. However, over the years of painting different rooms in different houses, I have come up with some tricks and tips to make painting easier, quicker, better, stronger, better, faster painting. And I think that more of us would paint our rooms if we knew some of these tricks, tips, hacks, what have you. So I'm gonna go over them today while we paint this room. Now, I love color. So I went to the Lowe's and the Home Depot and whatever, and I picked out a ton of different paint colors for this house. The family room and the sitting room is a paint color. The dining room is another paint color. The kitchen is yet another one. My master bedroom is another one. This bathroom is another one. Davis's room, even though he doesn't live here, he still has a room in this house, is a whole nother color. I am not afraid of color. If you are someone who is a little bit afraid of color, paint is a very easy and cost-effective way to kind of ease yourself in. You don't have to paint an entire room the same color on all four walls. If color makes you a little bit nervous, pick an accent wall and just paint that one wall and leave the rest of the three walls neutral. Ease yourself in that way. A gallon of paint is about 25, 28 bucks. That's not a lot of money for a huge impact. So I'm gonna go over some stuff. I'll show you what I do. And then by the end of this video, I guarantee you're gonna be like, fuck it, I'm going to Lowe's, I'm picking out some paint, we're gonna paint. Guaranteed. So tip, trick, hack, number one, this shit I don't believe in. Taping anything off is a huge waste of time. I do not tape off any corners. I do not tape off where the wall meets the ceiling. I do not tape off the baseboards. I don't tape. Why I have this, I don't even know why. I don't use it, not for painting, maybe for other things, but I certainly do not use it for painting walls in rooms. So get rid of this. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money on painter's tape. And I know what you're saying right now, but Sheri, how do you paint where the wall goes to the ceiling without getting paint on the ceiling? I will tell you. If you walk away with nothing else from this video, walk away with this. It is about the paintbrush. When you are cutting in, you have to have the right paintbrush. If you don't want to tape, because let's be real, taping off all around everywhere takes a ton of time. And even though you've taped it off, 9 times out of 10, the paint's gonna seep underneath. When you go to peel off the tape, you're still gonna have some little areas that you need to go back and correct. So time suck to put the tape all around, bigger time suck to have to go and touch up all the areas where the paint bled under the tape. That's why I don't tape. And how I avoid taping off everything is in the paintbrush that I use to cut in all my edges. The paintbrush you want to get needs to be an angled brush. It doesn't have to be the best brush on the planet. I think I got this brush from like Family Dollar. All I care about is that it's a smooth, nice brush that has an angle. This is a 1.5 inch brush. If I had my ideal brush, it would be a 1 inch angled brush. You do not want to cut in with a paintbrush that is flat across. So you see the difference here? The smaller the paintbrush, as in 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and the angle of the paintbrush is going to be your best friend when it comes to cutting in. No tape angled 1 inch to 1.5 inch brush. I'm telling you, when I show you what to do, you're gonna die. Tip, trick, hack number 2. If you are painting over an already like dark-ish colored wall with a light-ish colored paint, you wanna make sure that you spend the couple extra bucks, and it's not a lot of extra bucks, maybe $5 to $8 extra. If you spend a little bit more money on your paint, you will be able to avoid the priming step altogether. Don't let the people at the Lowe's, the Home Depot, the Ace, the wherever, talk you into buying a can of primer. Hell no. Tell them that you want the paint that has primer in it. Not sponsored by Behr Premium Plus, but a paint and primer in one is going to save you a step in primering your dark colored walls. I never tape off and I never fucking primer. A can of primer is, I don't know, like 15, 20 bucks. I'm gonna save that and I'm gonna put an extra $8 to $10 in getting a can of paint that is paint plus primer. So make sure you don't cheap out on your gallon of paint. That's gonna save you a whole priming step, and your paint color that you select will cover the paint that's already on the wall. I like to say this should have been number 1. Have a tasty beverage around. This really isn't a tip, trick, or hack, but it's nice. This is a Mike's Hard Strawberry Lemonade. It's delicious. Hashtag not sponsored. If you like those like hard lemonade sort of drinks, comes in a can, money. But tip, trick, hack number 3. Bring all of your supplies into the room that you're going to paint, so that once you get started, you don't have to get up and down the ladder, run out, go find something. So make sure you have a step ladder or ladder that you can reach the ceiling with, your paint, something to open your paint with, your paintbrush, a little container like this to pour off some of this. Because when I am painting on my ladder or step stool or what have you, and I'm painting up high, ain't nobody trying to hold this whole gallon of paint and paint at the same time. So get yourself a little plastic cup. This one I've used a million times. You can just rinse it out, pour off a little paint in here. This is lightweight. Now you can get on top of your ladder, dip, 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 paint, paint, paint. All good. In your supplies should be some spackle and a little spackle smoother outer thingamajig. You are gonna wanna make sure you spackle over any holes that are in these walls. Now, I hung this just so I could take it down. There was a towel rack here. The previous homeowner used molly bolts. I took the towel rack down, but now I have to rip out the plastic portion of the molly bolt, which is gonna leave a ginormous fucking hole. I gotta spackle over all of that. So my first step in any paint thing is to go around the room, pull out any nails, do whatever. If you get a spackle that is a lightweight spackle, fast drying, if I start spackling this area, by the time I get around the whole room and come back to here, this area will be ready to paint. Gotta spackle up those ginormous holes. Now, not gonna lie, if it's a tiny baby hole created by a tiny baby nail, I probably wouldn't spackle it, because I know that that paint's gonna go right over that hole. So yeah, get the supplies, all of them, everything you think you might need in the room, and make sure you spackle all of your holes right away before you start anything. Also, you won't notice because you can't see the floor. Along with never ever using tape, I also never ever use a drop cloth. I know, I'm crazy. And that brings me to tip, trick, hack number 4. So the reason I don't ever use a drop cloth is, number one, I don't like them. I don't like them under my feet. They never stay in place. Every time I move my ladder, they move with me. And I don't want to buy those plastic drop cloths. That's just a waste of money. When you paint how I'm going to show you how to paint, you will be surprised at how few times you make a mess. And in case you do drip on anything, get paint on the ceiling, what have you, this right here is gonna be your best friend. Make sure you have a wet towel that you don't care about. I will wet this when I'm ready to paint, and I will keep this by my side as I'm painting. I'm not gonna say I never drip paint. I do. The quicker you can blot it away, rub it away with a wet towel, the better. You're never gonna know. Now, some of you might be saying, but Sheri, I have carpet. What if I get paint on my carpet? Wet paint when it's not dried, so if you notice it right away and you use a wet towel, you can wet your spot on the carpet, take a dry towel and blot it up, and that paint won't be there anymore. Wet towel, it's the best thing in the whole wide world. If you are nervous about furniture that you can't move or things like that and getting like over splatter from a roller, then yeah, throw a sheet over that. Ain't nobody trying to get paint on their couch. All I'm saying is if you're painting a room with a wood floor, a laminate floor, a tile floor, even carpet, you do not need a drop cloth. All you need is a wet towel. I know you don't believe me, but I'll show you. Tip, trick, hack number 5. Always paint with your bare feet. Do not wear socks, slippers, shoes, flip-flops, what have you. If you do happen to drip paint on your floor and you don't notice it and you step on it wearing socks, shoes, flip-flops, slippers, whatever, you'll never know. And then you'll start walking around your room. You have now tracked paint all over your room because it's on the bottom of your foot. If you paint barefooted and you step in a little drip of paint, you will feel it right away and you will know, don't move, get your wet towel, wipe off the bottom of your foot, and then continue on. So let's get into painting. Well, first, taking down the shit that we don't want to paint, spackling, and then we will get to actually painting. And we're gonna start with cutting in everything. But first, let me take down this shit and spackle the holes. So I've taken out all the nails on this wall and the horrible molly bolts, and now I'm going to spackle. It's pretty easy. I usually use my finger at first. I go in and I'll dab some spackle over the tiny baby holes. Easy, easy. When it comes to a bigger hole like this, I will use my finger and shove it into the hole. And I'll use quite a bit of spackle actually to really get it shoved in that hole, because when spackle dries, it does tend to shrink up on you a little bit. So once I have it pretty crammed in there as best as possible, I will take my little smoother outer situation, go back and forth, removing the excess spackle so that I have a very smooth finish on my wall. Going back in, filling it in any areas. What I don't want to have is a clump of spackle that then I have to go and sand smooth. The smoother you can get your spackle initially before it dries, the better off you're going to be. We just spackled all of our holes all around our room, and we are ready to get into it. We are going to paint. Our first step is going to be cutting in the room, cutting in all of your edges, your wall to ceiling edges, your baseboard edges, all that good stuff, which is probably the most hated portion of painting for anyone. But I'm here to show you how you're gonna get so fucking good at it. You're gonna be like, I'll cut in, I'll cut in, I'll cut in, you roll, I'll cut in. What you wanna do is get your paint open and pour a little bit of it into your little container. Get your wet towel and your angled 1 inch to 1.5 inch brush ready to go. Okay, So we're up high. I'm on my step stool and I'm ready to cut in. I always start with the ceiling first. I have my wet towel, it is wet, my angled 1.5-inch paintbrush, and I have my paint in my tub. Now mind you, we haven't taped shit. Here's how you are going to avoid getting paint on your ceiling. And it all has to do with this brush and the way you load your paint on your brush. You wanna figure out the direction you're going to paint. If you're gonna start from left to right or right to left. This is very important because people shit the bed when I tell them that I do not tape off anything when I paint. If you're going to paint left to right, you want the highest angle of your brush to be at the left position if you're painting left to right. If you're painting right to left, you want the highest point of your brush to be at the right position. So because I'm gonna paint left to right, I'm gonna make sure that my highest point of my brush is always to the left. Knowing that this is always to the left, I know that I never want paint on the side of my brush that I can see. I only want paint on the side of my brush that I cannot see, that's up against the wall. I'm gonna dip my brush in. Obviously, I'm dipping the whole brush in, not all the way down, and I wanna make sure that I scrape off paint on the side of the brush that is facing me. And I want a thick amount of paint on the side of my brush that is gonna be up against the wall. Once I have my brush prepared, paint side, non-paint side, I'm going to get up as high as I can so that my face is right up against the edge I'm going to paint. Now that I have my paintbrush loaded with paint and I'm up as close as I can possibly get to the wall to ceiling, I am going to put my paintbrush paint side towards the wall, not in the crack, but close to the crack. And I'm gonna flatten out my paintbrush and then I'm gonna move up ever so slightly, ever so gingerly to that crease where the ceiling meets the wall. And I'm gonna run my paintbrush very steadily along that crease. And when I get to where I don't wanna go anymore, I'm gonna swoop down. Then I'm gonna take my little paint and feather it out so that when I roll, I don't have to roll near the ceiling at all. So load your paintbrush up, wipe the paint off of the side that is facing you, flatten it out, and then run it ever so gingerly up to that crease. Very, very, very easy. Once you get the hang of it, you'll be like, oh my God, this is so easy. Now, you might be saying, I can't paint a straight line to save my life. I taught Teacher Jen how to do this, but I made her practice in a corner to where if she did mess up, no one would know. Practice in a corner before you go to your most noticeable spots in the room and you'll be fine. It does take a little bit of a minute, but once you get the hang of it, you will be saying, why the hell have I been taping off my entire life? I didn't need to. Again, I'm painting left to right, highest point of my brush towards the left, dip my brush into the paint, wipe off the back side so that when the brush is facing me, there's no paint on that side. Press my brush flat and run it right along where the wall meets the ceiling and then drag it on down. And now this is so perfect and I've come down so much that when I go to roller, I don't have to worry about even coming close to the ceiling because everything is so perfectly edged up. I like to be like right up in the business of the groove, but because I'm trying to show you guys, I'm painting kind of away from myself. But when you're right up on it, where I can get my face right into that crack, just run your brush in a long, even, clean stroke. Money. And you'll be able to edge so fast, you're not gonna believe it. You do want to avoid painting backwards. upwards. You always want to go in one continuous line. Well, what if I missed a spot? Go in that one continuous line, back over it again. The thicker that you have your paint painted initially when cutting in, the less likely you will have to go in and paint a second coat. Sometimes a second coat can't be avoided, but if you get that paint on pretty heavily the first time, you may not have to go in a second time. So that is great for this top edge and the bottom edge. But what do you do if you're painting an accent wall and you only want this wall painted, but you don't want this wall painted? That's when your wet towel comes in handy. Same rule applies when painting a corner. You're gonna make sure that only one side of your brush has paint on it. You're gonna get right up in that corner, press that brush flat, and carry that brush down, down, down. Now, let's pretend you're going along and you're like, oh shit, I just got paint right here. Very, very quickly, grab your wet towel and wipe that paint off. And let's say I went a little bit over the crack, or I got a little bit on the ceiling. Fold it really, really tight, and then I'll shove my thumbnail so that I have a little bit of towel just on the edge. I'll run my thumbnail down the edge that I got a little willy-nilly on, and voila, paint on my wet towel, edge super clean. I know. Now, same thing applies if you want to paint right to left. Just make sure highest point of the angle at the right side, if I'm going right to left. Remove paint from the side of the brush that is facing you. Flatten out your brush and run it in one smooth stroke. Drag it down and then feather out that edge. It's as easy as that. So I'm gonna finish edging this area and then we'll go down, down, down. I'll show you that the same rules apply to the baseboards. Okay, we're on the floor for the baseboards. Just wipe down those dusty baseboards if they're dusty. I'm not saying that yours are, but just in case, take your damn towel, just run your finger along the edge of the top of the baseboard. Not only are you painting, but you're cleaning your baseboards, which I think is something that we all neglect to do. Just like we did the top edge, we're gonna do the bottom edge. Painting left to right, I want the highest point of my paintbrush to be to the left. I only want paint on the side of the paintbrush that's actually touching the wall. I'm gonna get my brush right where it needs to be and paint one smooth, straight, continuous line. Voila, no paint on the baseboard. But let's say I get carried away. I get a little bit on the baseboard top. I'll even get more on there just to prove to you. Get your wet towel, run that wet towel right along the top edge of that baseboard, and voila. I know. And we didn't tape off shit. Point of the story is, why waste your time taping off when you could just get right to painting? I mean, why? Taping off is a waste of time. Once you master the edging technique, you'll be able to finish painting your room in no time. And even if you mess up, you have a wet towel. The wet towel is your saving grace to any painting mishap. Once you have all of your cutting in done, you're ready to rock and roll. Rolling on the paint from here on out, and then you will be done. Get your paint roller, get your paint tray, and get to rolling. There's really no tip, trick, or hack to rolling. Do. That's it. And voila! Once you are done rollering, you're done. You just need to wait for it to dry, and then you can hang all your shit back up. I usually roll on a pretty thick coat of paint. You may get some, it's not overspray because it's a roller, but your roller might kick back some paint onto you or onto the floor. And if that does happen, which it did happen to me, I just got my damn towel and wiped them right up. Even if they start to dry a little bit, just rub, 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 and it comes right off. Once it's dry, you might want to come back in with a roller or a brush. Just hit some spots you may have missed. Bonus tip, because I know I might have to touch up some areas once this is dry, I'm not gonna waste my time and wash this brush out. I'm just gonna put it in a plastic bag and put it in the refrigerator until this is dry, and I can double make sure that I don't have any spots that I need to touch up. And then once that's done, then I will wash this brush, but not until then. So there you have it, and there it is. 5 tricks, tips, hacks, whatever you want to call them, to quickly and efficiently paint your room. Don't forget, I think I have a bonus tip, but wait, I have a bonus tip for you. Hold on, I gotta get it. The can of paint that you used to paint this room, if there is still a good amount of paint in the paint can, go ahead and close it up real tight, hammer down that lid, and write the room you used that paint on. So if, let's say, someone comes in here and scrapes the wall, or some random kid colors all over it, and you need to repaint or retouch up, you can walk right out into your garage, grab the paint can that says guest bathroom, and you'll be good to go. If your paint can is empty, done, dusto, get rid of the paint can, but save the lid. On the lid, you'll want to write guest bathroom. If you ever, over the life of your guest bathroom, need to repaint, you will have the darndest time trying to match the paint color if you used up all your paint during the first go round. The lid is much easier to save, and the lid has all of the important information that the Lowe's, the Home Depot, the Ace, the paint store is going to need to mix you another can of paint 2 years from now. You know that if you ever need to match this paint because you need to touch it up for whatever reason, they'll scan this little barcode and mix you up a little quart of paint so that you can do your touch-ups. I know, I'm fucking brilliant. If you use my 5, we should probably like trademark it, patent it, tricks, tips, and hacks, you will be able to paint any room in your house in no time, and you won't need to waste any of your time taping, drop clothing, and you'll really actually maybe start enjoying painting. Maybe not, but maybe. Now, before we officially wrap everything up, I do want to mention, because I know what you guys are thinking. When you saw me cutting in without taping, you were probably thinking to yourself, that seems like it takes an awful long time. If I just tape everything off, I can paint real sloppily, and that is much faster. And then I can just rip off the tape and be done with it. Well, if you even slightly master my cutting in technique, I guarantee you, you will save time. If you timed yourself on how long it takes you to tape off the ceiling and the baseboards, and then how long it takes you to sloppily cut in, combined with how long it takes you to remove all of that tape and then go through and touch up all of the areas where the paint bled underneath the tape, I'm sure you'll find one is way more time consuming than the other. And it's mine. My cutting in with no tape takes way less time than taping off everything. I promise you. I wouldn't have put it in as a trick, tip, hack if it truly didn't work and truly didn't make painting a room more efficient. Oh, and also, bonus hack, just like we put our paint brush wrapped in plastic bag, what have you, you can also do that with your paint roller. Let's pretend you were like, I'm not gonna finish rollering these walls tonight. You don't have to wash this either. Get yourself some cling wrap, saran wrap, clear plastic wrap, what have you, and then just roll your roller. Oop, I'm gonna drip paint. Roll your roller into that plastic wrap, wrap the plastic wrap all around the roller, tighten the ends up like, you know, like a piece of candy, and put this in your fridge too. You can get to rolling the next day without having to wash a damn thing. So there you have it. Now, everybody get to painting. Give your life some color with some freshly painted walls in your house. It's easy, you can do it. Just use my hacks, I promise. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Be sure to ring that notification bell so that you are alerted to all of the DIY Wednesday videos I push out every other Wednesday at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. Be sure to share this video with your family and friends. And as always, thanks for hanging out.